Gavin Barwell.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Deputy Speaker. It's a great pleasure to rise to speak on behalf, in support of the private member's bill that my honourable friend from Croydon South has introduced. He has already referred to a number of the ways in which this problem is affecting our hometown, but also constituencies right across the country. The attacks on community facilities and buildings, he referred to Croydon Minster, which sits within my own constituency. He also referred to the problems in terms of theft of telephone cables. Residents in Forestdale in my constituency have suffered from that problems on numerous occasions. He referred to my own personal experience, and I just wanted to take a couple of minutes of the House's time, Mr Deputy Speaker, to talk about that, not because what my family have been through is any worse than what thousands of other families across the country have had to experience, but because I think it is important to put on record the effect that this kind of crime has on people. In the case of my own family, my father suffered for a number of years with Alzheimer's. During that time, my mother cared for him at home in increasingly difficult circumstances until for the last few months of his life he had to go into a hospice. It was an incredibly difficult time for the whole family, but for her in particular, struggling with seeing someone that you love stripped away day by day over a number of years. And she gave a great deal of thought to the message that she wrote on the plaque where my father's ashes were interred. And beyond my anger, my personal anger at the theft of that plaque, was my anger as a son that my mother should have to go through further pain after what she had already experienced. And as I said, I mention this not because what we've been through is any different or any worse at all than what thousands of other families in the country have gone through, but this is a crime, and it's one thing to have someone break into your car and steal a stereo or an iPod, but actually when you lose something that is close to you on an emotional level, that is a much more devastating blow, and it is a very serious offence. But I think there is perhaps one thing that goes beyond even the theft of plaques from people's graves, and that is the theft of war memorials. I think, when you think of the incredible sacrifices of the generations before mine have had to make for this country to defend the freedoms that we now all enjoy, I do have language, Mr Deputy Speaker, to describe people that conduct those kinds of crimes, but I suspect it's language that you would regard as unparliamentary in this House. Now, my honourable friend rightly said that this bill on its own is not going to be a silver bullet that solves the problem, but I do think it contains a number of the key ingredients that will help to do that. My honourable friend from Romsey in Southampton North, who is no longer in her place, talked about in relation to cashless payment, making sure that we have a level playing field right across the industry. The licensing system, I think, as the honourable member for Worcester, who's also had to leave the chamber, said, is an absolutely key ingredient. Before I came into this House, I was a councillor for 12 years on the London Borough of Croydon, and my responsibilities in the last year and a half were in relation to crime and to community safety. And one of the most interesting evenings I spent in that job was going out with the police licensing team. Croydon has a very large nighttime economy, and they showed me a range of institutions, ranging from those that were highly professionally run to others where you actually feared for the physical safety of the people within the buildings. And that licensing system, which seems to me to be a pretty good parallel for what is proposed in relation to the scrap metal industry in this bill, was actually hugely welcome to the good operators, because what they objected to were rogue operators that were not investing sufficiently in maintaining the safety of those that were using their institutions, and therefore sort of undercutting them essentially. So actually the message you got, to try and answer the point that the honourable member for Shipley was giving, from the reputable establishments, wasn't that they objected to the bureaucracy of having a licensing system, but they thought it was absolutely essential to try and drive out the rogue operators and therefore to their benefit. The third point that my honourable friend made was about the importance of being able to establish the where material had been sourced from, and the work that Operation Tornado is achieving in the north of the country, and hopefully will be spread nationwide quickly. And the fourth element, clearly, in having unlimited fines for those who breach their licences. And I just wanted to end Mr Deputy Speaker, by responding to some of the points that the Honourable Member for Shipley made. We come from different traditions within the Conservative Party, but I actually have a very, very high regard for him, because I think it is hugely to the benefit of this House that when people come forward with proposals to change the law, to bring in new legislation, there is a voice that questions the need for it and that argues whether new legislation is the right solution to the problem. It's very important. He's quite right to say that there is an instinct in politics that when there is a public concern about an issue, there is a demand that we must do something, that we must respond, and that sometimes that can lead to disproportionate legislation that puts costs on businesses or overly restricts the freedom of individuals. So it's very important when we have these debates, that voice is sound, and I expect my honourable friend from Bury North may still be hoping to speak and will be making similar points. But I think that the main thing that I would want to say in response to what he had to say was I felt that he was, to a degree, presenting the House with a choice, a binary choice, that either we took a tougher approach in using the existing law to punish those that are responsible for offences, or we looked at changing the law and introducing regulation. And my own very strong conviction on this issue is that we should be doing both those things. It's not a choice that you either have to do one or the other. And I often find, in the 2 years that I've been in this House, that sometimes we have these debates and you know, the sort of polarisation of this chamber presents these choices. So on the wider issue of crime, I always feel that we're sort of presented with a choice with either tougher sentencing or reforming our prison system to try and reduce reoffending. And I never quite understand why we can't try and do both of those things at the same time. So on this issue, it seems to me that he is absolutely right that the people that are stealing metal, we should be going after, we should be making greater efforts to catch them, we should be punishing them more severely. And he's also right that in relation to those that trade in stolen goods, the law is also there. But there is good evidence, I think, that the industry itself sees the need for a licensing system to protect the good operators. He's quite right to say we shouldn't be giving the message that this whole industry is full of criminals. There are absolutely legitimate, proper operators who are law-abiding people, but they themselves, it seems to me, are asking for us to look at this issue. And the point that I tried to make to him in relation to my own personal case is that the scrap metal dealer who bought the plaques, and there were thousands of them, not just my father's, knew exactly what he was doing. And I absolutely agree that we should try and bring him to justice and punish him and have a stronger punishment for trading in stolen goods. But I also, Mr Deputy Speaker, profoundly believe that he should not be able, after he has served that punishment, to go back into that industry and start operating again. And that is why, it seems to me, we need the legislation of a licensing system. So with a huge regard and affection for the role he plays in this chamber, I believe that my honourable friend has made the case strongly, both for stronger punishment, both for more effort at enforcement, but also for changes in the law that will strengthen the hand of police and local authorities to deal with this crime that has been a scourge to so many communities up and down the country. And it is with that thought in mind that I am proud to support my honourable friend and the efforts that he is making to deal with this problem. Thank you very much.